Hello, good morning. It's Tuesday, for Tuesday, Book Report Tuesday. How are you? Librarian Lucille here to bring you this week's book report. Have you ever heard someone say, I'm not the creative one, so-and-so is the creative one in the family. I didn't get that. I'm more analytical. I'm not creative at all. You know what? I've used those words. I used to say those words. So I listened to a podcast. Sarah Lewis, that's the author of the book we're doing today. It's called The Rise. Sarah Lewis was doing a podcast that I overheard, and the information she was putting out in that podcast was mind-shaking. It really just pushed me into a different frame of thought, and I thought, I've got to read that book. So I want you to notice something about this book. There were so many things, so many takeaways from this book that I tabbed them. I've actually got them identified. This is a book for people who are innovative or people who think they're not innovative. It will change your mind. I heard a podcast, nope, it was a documentary, and the gentleman in it said, every single human being is wired for creativity. If we spend too much time in our left brain, analytical study, that kind of thing, if we spend too much time there, we are literally out of balance, and our health and our brain and our body takes the brunt of that imbalance. We do ourselves a favor by being creative. Now, creative can be a lot of things. It can be sculpting. It could be working in the kitchen. It could be designing things. It could be art, like we look at, sculpting, painting, things like that. It can be all these numbers of things. My father was an engineer, and so he built things. He was always going to find a way to create power using water. He had all kinds of inventions in the garage that he was going to do. None of them came to be, but it kept him going. Being creative is something we all need to be. Now, we are heading into a very different economic season than we have recently experienced. And it is my belief that how we weather that storm, that season, is going to rely not upon our analytical, but upon our creative. So the sooner you tap into your creative, the sooner you'll be better placed to come through this. That's just the belief of Annette. Now, I've got some quotes for you, obviously from this book. It is powerful. You need to read this book. Everyone should read through this book. And it's especially got important things in there for children. Let me see if I could find all of them. The Rise shows us how to stay open and be fearless. Sarah Lewis takes you to unexpected places, to spheres that just may become fabulous. There is no other book like it in the world. I was terrified of making mistakes, as though there was a smooth way forward without them. There is no other way forward. Either you stumble through error, failure, risk, and uncertainty on the available paths, or you're stuck. Sarah Lewis's The Rise makes a beautiful case for both the necessity of risk and failure and experimentation, and for how the road to success is paved with such things. Now, what Sarah is, let me give you a little background. I'm not going to do any more quotes. I'm almost out of time. Sarah is an art gallery. Let me read this. Sarah has served on President Obama's Arts Policy Committee, was elected for Oprah's Power List, is a Kuhlman Fellow at the New York Public Library, and an assistant professor at the Harvard University. She uses art as a way, in history, I'm going way back, to teach us about how some of the most famous people used disappointment or failure to push them towards new things. I hope that we all take a lesson from the history books and the lessons that Sarah Lewis teaches us in The Rise. To get creative, cut ourselves some slack, be forgiving, be kind, and just persevere and create and build. Oh, I did want to share something with you. It was from the Mayo Clinic. I can't leave without giving you this one. I'm sorry. The Mayo Clinic, if I don't find it, I'm going to have to preface it. Okay, so the Mayo Clinic had an initiative where they awarded people who were significant in their field, creating things. And in an 18-year period, they had 30 some odd creations. They realized that by having this initiative in place, this policy in place, no one felt comfortable creating new things. So they changed it. They created, if I remember correctly, it's called the Queasy Award for the near hits. In little over 1 year, they had over 245 new inventions, many of those needing patents. When we allow ourselves a little grace, a little forgiveness, a little space, it's amazing what we can step into and create. Remember, perfectionism is a myth. It doesn't happen. Mastery can happen, but that only happens with perseverance. Have a great Tuesday, you guys. Love you all. See you next week.